Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishna. Om. Salutations to Bhagavan Ramakrishna. Manmohan Mitra, Part 2. For a few moments, let us contemplate on this inner divinity that hides within all beings. Om, peace, peace, peace. The Upanishad says that this divinity is hidden in all beings, and one has to search within with a fine and a one-pointed intellect. In studying the lives of these household disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, we get one thing clear. In this age of the so-called secularism, when we say God is dead, we have these proofs that not only God is alive, but that by coming in touch with this divinity, this greater life, they really become alive. Sri Ramakrishna, one day, sitting down in a gathering with the devotees, he says, this world is a framework of illusion. And Manmohan, he laughs because it doesn't appear illusory at all. It's real. But Sri Ramakrishna's words penetrated deep into his heart, and he saw the illusoriness of this world. And then further, Sri Ramakrishna says, well, this is also a mansion of mirth, it's joy. One must be able to get joy here in life. We had seen, he had initially asked Sri Ramakrishna, does God listen to our prayers? And Sri Ramakrishna had looked at him in surprise. Of course he does. The prayer is sincere. You call on him and you think he's not going to listen to you. And he has, for all these years after coming in touch with Sri Ramakrishna, after that vivid dream of the deluge, he has built his life on this. But he also says, well, sir, but I do not know God, but I have taken refuge in you. Please accept my responsibility, he says. Sri Ramakrishna was quiet for a while. And then it was late evening. Sri Ramakrishna says, listen, one who comes here for God realization or to attain knowledge, one's desires will be fulfilled. Let me say this. One's desire for God realization or for the attainment of knowledge will be fulfilled here. Here in Ramakrishna. This is an assurance that we've been given. Manmohan gradually began to realize that Sri Ramakrishna was not just an ordinary man, but then he was an incarnation of God. And he wanted to serve him. He also accepted him as his guru. One time Sri Ramakrishna was sitting down and Manmohan enters the room and wanted to prostrate in front of him. And Sri Ramakrishna pulled his legs back. Why did you do that? And says, I'll cut your legs, take them at home, and I'll worship them and let all the devotees also worship. And Sri Ramakrishna smiled. That was his devotion to Sri Ramakrishna. However, he also was a very sensitive person. And, he thought that only his devotion was the best towards his guru. And Sri Ramakrishna began praising another devotee with that other type of special devotion that he had. And Manmohan was peeved, he was hurt. Saying, that guy, how can he be compared to me? And he stopped coming to Sri Ramakrishna. And when he was asked by his friends, why don't you go there? Oh, I'll go when I have enough of devotion. However, Sri Ramakrishna kept on sending messengers to his place, saying that, why don't you come over here? Come back. But the very fact of him staying away from Sri Ramakrishna made him constantly think of Sri Ramakrishna, till it was kind of maddening. He just couldn't perform his daily duties. And the more he tried to stay away, the more he kept thinking of him intensely. One day, as usual, he had gone out to the Ganges for his morning dip in the river. He saw a boat coming out here. And he saw a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna on the deck. It's a kind of a small country boat. And he's saying, oh, good fortune, I've seen a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. And the devotee was Balram, saying, why don't you come to Sri Ramakrishna? You've forgotten him. He is here. And he gets a shock of his life. He has come to see you. And he was so filled with emotion, he was about to fall in the waters, when another disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, monastic disciple, Niranjanananda, he jumped in the water and held him. And then he saw Sri Ramakrishna himself come on the deck and go into samadhi. Manmohan was, you can say, so overwhelmed with devotion. He prostrated in front of him. And Sri Ramakrishna says, I have been very anxious about you, so I have come for you. Manmohan says, sir, it's my wounded feelings, but now I'm okay, now that you've come. And this is also an object lesson for devotees. That whatever you may do, whatever your hurt feelings may be, however hurt it may be, but God responds. He understands. And He comes to you. And over in Sri Ramakrishna's life, we see him going to devotees' places, taking all the trouble so that he can meet them, console them, inspire them. And Manmohan then, after this, he began sobbing like a child, and then he resumed his regular visits. Manmohan, as we have said, and his cousin Ramchandra Datta, they used to have these group singing. It's called a kirtan. And people sing these inspirational songs over and over again. And he told them one day, holy company is essential. As one gets heat sitting near a fire, So holy company raises the mind to a higher plane. One gets peace and inspiration in the company of the holy. What do you mean company? When the Lord's name is being chanted and sung, that is holy company. It's very difficult for spiritual life to go about it alone. It's just impossible. After some time, your enthusiasm will fizzle out. So you need a group, a community where you can go and get inspired when your devotion becomes tepid and becomes kind of lukewarm. Again, you are enthused. Manmohan, he, as we have seen, he was so devoted to Sri Ramakrishna, and everybody at home also, they were caught with that infection of his devotion, and they also became the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. However, his aunt wasn't very enthusiastic, and she tells her sister, that is Manmohan's mother, see, your son is going often to meet that saint of Dakshineshwar. He might renounce the world, who knows? And his mother, Manmohan's Mitra, the mother, says, when will such a blessed day arrive when my son dedicates his life to the service of holy people? And his aunt had to remain silent. When he arrived at Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna says, you see, there was a devotee who was coming here, and somebody at home objected to his coming. Can you tell me, will he stop coming to me here because of the objection? Manmohan was dumbfounded. He understood then that the master was omniscient. He understood that what had transpired there. And another time, because he was living on the opposite bank of the river Ganges, from where Sri Ramakrishna dwelt, he should transit by boat, again the country boats, more like a small canoe. And the storm arose, and everything was kind of, people were panicking. And those country boats, very kind of flimsy. I've traveled in it, and I know. Now you wonder why people become so devotional, because you don't know, you might fall in the river and you keep on taking the name of the Lord over and over again. So he began laughing because everybody was had panicked and were frightened. An old man said, why are you laughing? We might die any moment. So he says, I'm laughing because I shall die. So why should I die crying? I have reached the other shore of the ocean of Maya, and I'm going to one who has taken me across. So I have no fear of death. This is what a devotee, it's a sign of devotion. The first sign of devotion to God is the fear of death, the mystery of death leaves you. Everything becomes crystal clear. So this is what Sri Ramakrishna had conferred on it. So when he reached Dakshineshwar, the master was surprised. Oh, you've come, braving all that dangers. He says, it proves that you love me. Manmohan said, sir, if I do not love you, then whom else shall I love? And this is very important. When love for God grows, it's not that you stop loving everybody else. You see that same divinity reflected in all. You love them because of that. Now your love becomes genuine. You don't love people for their qualities or the absence of qualities or their looks or whatever, their money or name or fame, nothing. You love them because of that. And so it was with him. So Sri Ramakrishna, then he asked, testing him, Why? Who am I to you? He says, you are the savior of my soul. I have no fear when I come to you. This is, like I mentioned, the perfect example of Sri Ramakrishna's devotion to Sri Ramakrishna. He was a quiet, peace-loving person, but he could be easily angered also. And one time, somebody was criticizing Sri Ramakrishna, and he was so annoyed. He's saying, one more word and I'll knock you to the ground. Sri Ramakrishna told him when he reached Dakshineshwar, he's saying, everyone thinks that one's faith is the greatest. If anyone says a word against his faith, he first argues, then becomes angry, and at last loses control and becomes violent. Manmohan understood that what had happened there was known to Sri Ramakrishna. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, whether somebody criticizes me or praises me, that's no one else's business. I'm the most insignificant person. Because he had said, I can't stand anybody criticizing you. So Sri Ramakrishna had replied, what will anybody gain by criticizing me? And then Manmohan was doubly sad. He sat in the corner with his face in his hands. And then Sri Ramakrishna said, why are you sad? Did I scold you? So then he said, if you are hurt, I shall be in pain. Anger is horrible. I can't touch an angry person. I can't even bear his presence. Here it is. So he's trying to dilute his anger because, and his sadness also. Because as you say, the scriptures say that anger rises from rajas, the quality of rajas, the passions. And it is, in the Bhagavad Gita, I say, the great devourer. It devours many things. First, your peace of mind and the person himself. So Sri Ramakrishna says, I am the child of the Divine Mother. I live in this world as she wishes me to live. One of his, you can say, one incident is there where he is leaving to see his master. And his daughter is ill. He is hesitating whether he should go or no. His wife is saying, are you going crazy? A daughter is on the point of death here and you're going to see it? But his mother is encouraging him, you know, you should go. You go like you're used to going things. He's saying, this is the time to prove your faith. One who remains unperturbed, surrendering everything to God, is a person of faith. Please don't misuse the time, go to the master. His mother is telling him. And she says, go and tell the master your daughter is dying. He's saying, how can I tell the master about this mundane things? They say, no, you can go mentally tell him and ask for his blessings. Then, when he arrived at Dakshineshwar, he bowed down. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, in the course of the conversation, today a person was coming here and his wife got annoyed because their daughter is ill and dying, and well, again he understood that Master is omniscient. And Sri Ramakrishna spoke about different aspects of the Godhead to divert his mind. So Sri Ramakrishna was gracious during that time and his daughter survived. There used to be a chariot festival in something like in his neighborhood. And one time he had come with his friend to invite Sri Ramakrishna, saying, and Sri Ramakrishna agreed quickly. And so Sri Ramakrishna had gone there to the chariot festival. It's called the Jagannath Rath Yatra. It's a Lord is taken in a huge chariot, and the chariot is pulled by thousands, sometimes thousands of devotees. They pull that chariot. And at that time, again, Manmohan had seen Sri Ramakrishna going into Samadhi. Even with all this, he was restless, and he used to cry profusely for the vision of God. Now, after attaining all these levels, why should he be kind of so disconsolate about that I have not yet got the vision of God, etc.? People think the one vision of God is sufficient. No, there are so many. There are many levels. So this is called something called higher devotion, ragatmika bhakti. First is devotion tempered with the rules and regulations, the do's and the don'ts, and it is something like you keep on a steady pace, you keep on slowly going towards your goal with the prescribed, you can say, path of spiritual practices. After some time of this kind of prescriptive, you can say, discipline, then the floodgates of bhakti are open. And that is called, again, I said, like ragatmika bhakti, higher devotion, where everything becomes kind of, bhakti breaks all bounds. This is the time when there is a great spiritual restlessness for higher and higher forms of the vision of God. And if this comes, blessed is the person. Not only the person, the world is blessed, because this is something that's rare to attain. So Sri Ramakrishna has said, don't be so impatient. Everything will happen in the course of time. One time, Sri Ramakrishna was invited to a festival, religious. There in India, that time, most of the festivals are religious festivals. And that also includes music. So you have a music festival and a dancing festival and everything combined. It's a great kind of affair. So Sri Ramakrishna couldn't go, but Manmohan and Ram, his cousin brother, they go for that. And Ram, he gave a lecture on what is true religion. And after that, there was a great singing, in the name of the Lord. It's called a kirtan. Everybody singing, dancing. People are dancing around these two cousin brothers in the center. And Manmohan, for the first time, he goes into that bhava samadhi. And he could be revived only the next day. He had to be carried home, of course. And so as we have discussed it in our Wednesday class on the gospel, where bhava samadhi, where all your energies, everything gets so deep inside. So your mind and your vital forces, that is prana, and everything leaves the externals and goes inside. And your body is more or less kind of dead to the world, but you're alive internally with the vision of God. That is what happens. Later, he understood that Sri Ramakrishna had transmitted spiritual power to both of them that evening. Another time when such a religious festival is going on and there was singing and dancing, his mother felt that she is going to die. We don't say she's going to die. She said that she would be leaving her body. she felt that she was losing body consciousness. So she sends for her son, Manmohan, who was in the, you can say, group dancing and singing and all that. So he comes saying, now, while this festival is on, I'm going to give up my body. Don't tell this to anybody. Go quietly. I don't want the festival to be interrupted. And he comes back, he joins the festival, and yet he's got grief, and because his mother, he's going to give up a body. And that's what happened. She gave up her body listening to the names of God. So this is some of his experiences. He passed through various other ordeals, like his mother had passed away. Then later, one of his daughters also passed away. He was, however, he had that spirit of spreading the master's, you can say, message. And he was extremely devoted to the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. When Sri Ramakrishna was ill in Kashipur, he used to contribute regularly for the maintenance for Sri Ramakrishna, as well as later on also for the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. And he should tell his wife, Adar Mohini, don't be a spendthrift now. We've got to save so that we can contribute to these young monks. After Sri Ramakrishna passed away, his cousin Ramchandra, which we will see later on, will take his life up. He wanted to write a biography of Sri Ramakrishna. So he had sent Manmohan to his native place. In India, the native place is the place of his birth. He goes there, meets people, talks to them, inquires about how Sri Ramakrishna lived as a young child, grown up as a youth. And with this, you can say, data, he came and the book was written. This is one of the first biographies of Sri Ramakrishna that was ever written. So he used to also take leave of absence from his office and go to meet devotees, and for obvious reasons that he used to spread the master's name and his message there. So he went to Ghatal, Jessore, Dhaka, Navadvip and Murshidabad. Some of the places are now in what is called Bangladesh. And people were stirred with his kind of the faith that he had and his inspired words. He also wrote extensively in a magazine called Tattva Manjari, which again was a kind of a publication about philosophy. His wife was diffident about her husband's devotion. And initially she was objecting to his. But later on, she slowly understood the depth of her husband's, you can say, devotion. And one day, he heard her praying, saying to Sri Ramakrishna, I did not have the opportunity to receive initiation from you, but please do not give me up for that reason. Endow me with faith and devotion, you as my husband has. So, and he overheard and he was so overwhelmed. And he remembered Sri Ramakrishna's teachings that when you sincerely begin your search for God, God removes all obstacles from your path. Yes. So people say, oh, spiritual life is difficult. Yeah. But you keep on, then you'll see how things become easy. The more you search for God, God will take care of all the other things that you find as obstructions. His wife, Adhar Mohini, she was devoted in her own way, and when they had gone on a pilgrimage to Puri, that is the great temple of Jagannath, Puri in Orissa. So there she gave up her body. That is, and she died with her husband by her side, chanting the name of God. That's the best way to go. When people around you are chanting the name of God, when you're not kind of unconscious, you're leaving your body consciously. And then after, later on, when he goes to the temple, the main temple, where for thousands of years people have been going out there. It's one of the great places of pilgrimage. So there he goes and he sees Sri Ramakrishna on the very altar where the deity, Jagannath means the Lord of the universe. So instead, in the place of the deity there, he sees Sri Ramakrishna there, smiling. And he was so thrilled. All his grief and sorrow on his wife's death just leaves him immediately. So he used to spend long hours at night in meditation. They say first you have devotion and knowledge, then you practice meditation. People do the reverse. They practice meditation first. That also is good, but you will not be able to sustain that for a long period of time. Because at times what happens is your meditation, etc., becomes dry. And that's a time when faith and love for God really helps you to keep you going. So people endowed with faith and love for God, when they meditate, they can easily meditate for a long time. So he used to give spiritual discourses, yes, in and round the place in those days, in the Calcutta and in the neighboring, you can say, districts also. And he was also looking after the management of one temple where the relics of Sri Ramakrishna were kept. The temple is now one of the centers of the Ramakrishna order. It's called the Yogodhyan. So there he saw Sri Ramakrishna in the shrine, and that lifted him up. So he used to go meet the devotees, inspire them, go out and speak, lecture, etc. there. It was during this time that he had many visions, and he was in a state of ecstasy most of the time. You know, this thing impels you. When you have devotion and love and knowledge, what happens is, you know you can't keep it to yourself. You have to give it out to people. That's another indication of genuine love for God and devotion. You don't want to be selfish. Like Sri Ramakrishna said, there are two types of egos. One's the raw I and the ripe I. And the raw I will eat a fruit quietly, and he will wipe out all traces. The person with the ripe I will take that fruit and first share it with others. That's the mature I. So, bhakti, the love of God, and faith in God, matures the person. He likes to spread it out. He likes to give it to other people. It's not depleting oneself. In fact, the more you give, the more you receive. So this was his life over and over again during those years. Once in meditation, he saw the Holy Mother in a vision as the goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, as they say. Another time, he saw a flock of white cranes against a blue sky. Remember, Sri Ramakrishna had seen a flock of white cranes against a black sky, and he had gone into an ecstatic state. Even he is saying his mind soared to the infinite beyond space and time, and he lost outward consciousness. Some of his neighbors carried him home. As I said, these are high states of devotion that is called Bhava Samadhi, where the external world and consciousness of one's body also goes. Everything is transferred to that object of meditation. Manmohan had tremendous love for the monastic disciples and for Swami Vivekananda. And when Swami Vivekananda died and gave up his body again. And he gave up his body on July 4th, 1902. Yeah, 4th of July. So he attended the annual celebration in honor of him, on his birthday. That's in 1903. And he felt, now, my life forces are now running low. And he felt that he has not much time to live. So as he was returning home from that festival, he had a stroke, according to the doctors, and he was bedridden. But Swami Premananda, one of the other monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, he says, it's not a stroke, he is in the state of yoga. And he says, this will remain till the very end. For 3 days continuously, he was chanting the name of Ramakrishna. And towards the end, on the 3rd day, he couldn't chant anymore. He was just whispering. And slowly, as he was already an experienced, you can say, person who had that samadhi, so what happens is towards the end, just before he gave up the body, the hair stood on ends and his prana, that is the vital forces, along with the mind and everything, where does it go? It merges in the divine. And he was gone. This was Manmohan Mitra. He came a skeptical man, saying, does God listen to our prayers? And he got the answers. He made God living in his life. And he tried to make that God living in the lives of others also. Thus came to a remarkable end. It's seen the power of Sri Ramakrishna transforming ordinary people into great saints. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We take a few questions. The next monastic disciple which we are going to take is Devendranath Mazumdar. That is another character that you must know about. Kind of a, as I say, gone case, useless guy. But he was completely transformed into a great saint again by Sri Ramakrishna. Okay. So, okay, have you seen any monk of the order or devotee in Bhava Samadhi in your lifetime? Of course. I've seen plenty of them. Only thing, Our monks do not go out in public and make a big fuss and show. So, did Manmohan have initiated disciples, or did he refer to people to Holy Mother Swami Brahman? Yes, he himself never initiated. His cousin brother Ramchandra Datta, he used to initiate. So he always felt that he was so insignificant, and he used to, when there were these great dynamic, you can say, monastic disciples, it's better to send people there to them when you have a roaring fire there. So he used to do that. Okay. So we can stop here, and tomorrow here we have at 10 a.m. Karma Yoga. Those who are interested to join us, please join us here. I think you should, those who can. It'll do you good. And also, a Sunday, Swami Avikarananda, our dear Ben, so he will speak on the inspiration behind the founding of the Ramakrishna order. Again, morning at 10 a.m. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.